Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez, I think, versus Dennis Bondar. That's his name, Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez, but every fight I've watched has had a different combination of two of those three names, kind of like Felipe Dos Santos reviewing fights, looking at his fights. He's got a different name each fight, even Felipe Catona or some shit. I don't know. But regardless of what name he settles on, and I believe he will settle on one name moving forward into the UFC, he's got a very pretty record. And even that's up for debate. It's either 16-2 or 15-2, depending on who you ask. But both losses are tight decisions. He lost way back when to this guy, Eduardo Morales, I think, a split decision. And his most recent loss is still 4 years ago or so. And that was on the Contender Series to Jerome Rivera, who won a very tight decision, I think unanimous, but it was very close. And then Jerome went on to fight in the UFC and didn't do so well. Had a cup of coffee. But Luis Rodriguez is getting a shot now. He's been spending time since that loss in the Lux Fight League, which has a lot of their fights available on YouTube, which I love. But he didn't have to go through even the Contender Series. He's jumping right into the UFC here because they have this Mexico card. And he is Mexican, by the way, which in the event of a decision should definitely help him out. He's fighting Dennis Bondar, who 2 minutes into the video, I'll give you my prediction. I'm predicting Bondar wins, but my heart's not into it, and I'm not fucking betting on it. I feel like I've said that a dozen times today making these videos. Not a lot of bets on this card, and this is another one with really tight odds where if I had a lean one way or another, it'd be a bet of mine. But instead, I'm sitting back on this one. Dennis Bondar, he is, 14-4? He's 19-4, Dennis Bondar. His four losses include one submission in his first loss in round 3 to this guy Jifa Zhang, or something like that. And then his other losses are all by decision aside from the injury to Malcolm Gordon. That's his one TKO loss where he injured his shoulder up against the cage. And it's like it never happened, in my opinion. But he also lost by decision to Carlos Hernandez in his most recent fight. And in the end of that fight, he was knocked unconscious, where you can't call it a knockout because he was hit with a headbutt or whatever. But you can definitely call it a strike against his chin and durability because the knockout's a knockout. And he was put out cold. And he lost a decision anyway. A technical decision, I think, or whatever. But that wasn't such a good look in that fight anyway. I thought Carlos Hernandez was leading the dance. I thought he had kind of thrown Dennis Bondar off, where Dennis Bondar looked a little stuck in mud. He was a step behind, not able to make things happen, and not able to adapt. And in the end, instead of cruising to a decision, he kind of got finished anyway, like I said. So overall, that took something from him. But that's the one time that he's legitimately been knocked out, even though, again, he was headbutted. But he is in his prime, 31 years old. I think he's a little stronger than Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez. And I think in tight, of course, he's stronger and he's the better grappler. Better grappler, much better overall top game submissions. And even though it's been a while since he's won a fight, let alone won by submission, I still think he hasn't really gotten going yet in the UFC. He's really only had one fight. Of course, he had that big injury against Malcolm Gordon, which set him back. And here, years later, he's still 31 years old, 31 and a half in his fighting prime. And I'm picking him because I feel like he never really got going. And I think he's going to be able to bully around a smaller, younger fighter. But again, not betting on it because this fight is in Mexico, first of all. And second of all, I just don't know. I just don't know. There's no glaring weakness at all for Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez. And for Dennis Bondar, despite him having what I perceive to be an advantage on top and with physical strength, he's just hasn't been able to make much happen against good fighters. Even he's got a nice, pretty record himself. Most of his wins are dog shit. He doesn't have that signature win, really. So I'm picking him again, but it's with no confidence. And I'm hoping really to learn about both fighters here and see a fight with no fucking injuries or anything. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.